I'm about to start recording this video, and I don't even have the deck list ready yet. I'm gonna need to explain that one, aren't I? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to be playing with a Blink deck that Caleb called Fun with Portals. And I'm going to show the original deck list. I'm going to talk about some of the theory behind it. If you've listened to my recent Eternal Glory podcast episode, I've already talked about this one a little bit, but there's some problems with this one. Good idea, poor execution. So this is Caleb's original deck list. And the idea is very clear. Do everything you possibly can to blink and bounce and otherwise flicker all of these various cards. Like, if you ask, what is this deck? It is a flicker deck, just like a new player might tell you, like, this is a flyer deck. Like, this is a blink deck. It is very, very clear what this deck is trying to accomplish. It wants to blink and re-blink and re-blink and Yori and blink everything until your opponent dies. However, conceptually, I think this deck is flawed in a number of ways. Number one, this deck cannot permanently answer a creature except with combat damage. There's no Swords to Plowshares here. There's no other hard removal. There's Solitude in the sideboard, but there's no game one actual factual remove this thing from the game forever stuff. Like, you are attempting to use combat damage as your removal. And if you remove your own creature via combat damage, you don't get to blink it later. Number two, this deck does Stone Cold Nothing versus combo. Like, just literal 0% chance to win versus any sort of fast combo deck. We can only win via combat damage, and we can't do so quickly. Like, this is very much an engine deck. So we're dead to creatures, and we are dead to combo. Well, that's a really bad fucking start. We don't have Force of Will as a safety net. And kind of conceptually, like, let's take a look at some ratios here. There are some creatures that, like, are good to bounce in this deck list. So I'd say that's your Blade Splicers, your Wing Splicers, your Recruiters, and I guess your Ice Fang Coatls. Like Charming Prince and Flickerwisp do stuff, but like they're blink effects, right? So when you start looking at this in terms of ratios, and I'm not going to count this as something that's really worth blinking, like, there's more blink cards in the deck than there are good blink targets. And on average, this costs 2 mana, right? This costs 1 mana. These things that you want to blink are just more expensive than the things that you're blinking, so you're not actually curving out properly. And so I attempted to rebuild this deck, and I ran into some problems. Idea one that I had was to become an Esper blink deck, and then I could use Grief as removal in the early game to go and, like, get through those early turns. And while we don't have Grief Reanimate, we have Grief Ephemerate or Grief Cloud Shift, which can accomplish the same thing. And, like, we can Baleful Strix instead of Icefang Coatl. And this one, I think, has fixed a lot of problems. But when I start thinking about the black count for Grief, like, for a Yorion deck, this is incredibly low. And mathematically, I don't think I get to line up that Grief Ephemerate Dream very often. And the difference between Grief Ephemerate and Grief Reanimate is that, like, you can reanimate later. The Grief's just in the graveyard. You lose out on that opportunity to do that if you don't do it the same turn with Ephemerate or Cloud Shift. So ultimately, I decided that this direction was not good. And so my next idea was, well, hey, what if Esper's not working, what if we just go Jeskai, Jeskai instead, and we do additional mana acceleration to start getting me to other things? And we can blink all these sweet things and then throw them with Broadside. And I can be in a different color combination that lets me use an elemental. And so we can Fury and Solitude to kind of have removal for the fair matchups, and then we can recycle those again and again and again and again. And this is, I think, closer to where the deck conceptually could be. And like we can, this isn't a blink, but it's very much in the spirit of what this deck originally wanted to do. But like at this point, I'm hardly in blue. I've taken away a lot of what the original deck was looking to do. And if you ask me, like, why are we doing this instead of like just playing initiative creatures, like I can't give you a real answer to that. So this is where I've sort of stalled out in the deck building, and I think that process is worth recording. So I'm going to kind of hit this deck list again and just kind of see what I come up with, and whatever the next draft is what we're firing into the league. But kind of at a design level, this deck needs to be interactive so that it has time to get to the point where it can durdle and get all of this blink value. And that means that we need to be hedging against opposing creatures or opposing combo, or both, much harder than the original deck list was doing. Also, just one more thing while I'm thinking about it. One of the other reasons why I'm not very sold on Bant as a color combination is that we have 20 X1 creatures in a format where Orcish Bowmasters is 40% of the format. And I know that I say that phrase a lot, and like this technically has a 3/3 associated with it, but it's kind of rough in terms of deck building right now. All right, this is where I'm at after a little bit more tinkering. I think I'm going to go with the Esper build. I think conceptually, Grief is very important to give us at least something to do in game one versus combo decks. And I think Solitude needs to be in the main deck so we can have some removal versus fair decks. And the hope is that eventually we can assemble like Soulherder plus Solitude to kind of lock fair decks out of creatures until they find spot removal. To increase the black count for Grief, I added in Reanimate. It's not quite blink, but it's reusing the triggers in the same way that kind of the deck was intended to work in the first place. And to try to solve the X1 creature problem, I've gone a little bit up the curve to recycle some of these bodies with Sarah Paragon. I'm going to play one Restoration Angel. It's something that can like work favorably in combat versus DRC and Delvers and things of that nature, while also sticking on the blink sub-theme. It also has flash, which is cool because sometimes opponents will think I'm holding up Bowmasters, but instead just Restoration Angel comes down and ruins your life instead. As far as the sideboard goes, I've kind of focused in on a couple of specific things rather than playing a bunch of Recruiter of the Guard Silver Bullets, which I also think is a reasonable way to approach the sideboarding. But I'm just playing extra removal, a handful of cheap and free cards for combo, and then Stony Silence as a way to shut down opposing artifact decks. The mana base is something that I threw together relatively quickly. It'll probably become pretty obvious, you know, if there's any errors in ratios of land types or anything like that. But I've already spent so much time brewing this one. I just want to get into the league and play some Magic. And if you find you like what you see today and you need some of these cards, please consider checking out Tales of Adventures. That's toamagic.com, and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. If you're tired of just ordering from a whole bunch of different places and getting too many envelopes over too much time, TOA Magic has it all. One envelope and free shipping. With that being said, let's battle. As long as I don't get wastelanded or equivalent, this hand is, I think, pretty good. We lead on Tundra because blue is kind of our least important color here. Well, that's a hell of a fucking draw. It's going to drastically change how this game plays out. Oh, my opponent says, hey, you got me into Legacy. Least I can do is put you in a video. I think leading on Tundra still is fine. Yeah. So let's Grief, and Strix is the only option here. Opponent is Troll Cycling. I might need to clear out some Reanimate type cards. Yeah, Animate Dead and Liliana of the Veil are the two things that I'm going to take. So now I'll Ephemerate this, and my opponent unfortunately does have Wasteland. So while I take my opponent off of meaningful plays for a little while, unless they just like start going the Urza Saga route, like they are conceptually behind on board. So like I could see an argument for not going for the Wasteland to just make constructs. Because like the constructs plus Shadow Spear, fuck, they just drew a black card so they get to see that I don't have more lands. Now they just know to Wasteland me, it's so good. Oh, also, apologies. I didn't turn on my good lighting. I'll turn it on next round. But I'm down Soulherder, which was the best card in my hand. I'm down Tundra. Ancient Tomb would be a pretty hot draw to get this Blade Splicer in. We're not ephemerating. Land is perfectly fine. And fetch. I think I put a Meticulous Archive in this deck list. But now we're on a clock. Oh no, my opponent has a spell too? Oh. Sure. Is that better than just taking Troll? Like, if my opponent has a Shadow Spear in their deck, probably not. Like, it's only 2 more life. I don't have Wasteland in this deck. That was something that I considered in some of the Ancient Tomb slots. I don't want to Grief right now. That can go to Graveyard. I won't let my opponent know that I drew that, I guess. Send it. I'm, like, super afraid of another Wasteland, though. And I assume that my opponent is playing that Swamp this turn. Blade Splicer is sort of interesting versus Grief. Because, like, First Strike is a thing, but Bowmasters is also a thing. Jouthy. Sure. Evasion's good. But I'm at 16. Strix. I think I just take the second body here. Just do the thing that's better versus Grief. Because I don't really want to Strix and then hold back Grief and Strix. I would like to try and remain an aggressor. Like, the more I take down my opponent's life total, the less viable something like Reanimate is. I guess Shadow Spear on Delphi Voidwalker is kind of a pain. Okay, maybe there's not Shadow Spear in game 1. That would be cool. Karanos knows what's in this deck list, though. Like, I would not be surprised to just see, like, the rack. Oh, fuck, it is Shadow Spear. They didn't go for equipping immediately, though. Sure. I'll take this hit. So, blue, black, do this. Charming Prince. That's not bad. 2 golems with First Strike is pretty damn good. Alright. Note, Charming Prince does not have Flash. I don't know why. A lot of people think it has Flash. I think because a lot of times it's just put in off of Aether Vial, so no Flash. Okay, I think I'm killing the Menace creature here. I can just blink this with a lot of cards in my deck. The First Strike happens. Regular combat damage happens. We trade Griefs. And then I Charming Prince. Flicker Blade Splicer. My opponent's at 4, so they can't snuff out that creature, which is why I did my attack first. And now if my opponent equips and gains 4, they're at 8. And I have at least that much coming in. Okay, yeah, this is fine. I hit my opponent, assuming 1 block, I hit my opponent for 3, 4, 5, 6. I hit my opponent for 7. And take a relevant body out of play. Yeah, that's real good. The Reanimate? No, not target your graveyard. Target my Flickerwisp. Pay 1. Flicker this construct. And then swing lethal damage. Okay, that felt pretty good. So, I would like these 4 copies of Swords to Plowshares versus my opponent's deck. I think there's going to be enough stuff going on with my graveyard too that I maybe don't want Leylines. What's, like, bad? I don't love Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize can become a Swords. I don't know that I love 2-for-1ing myself with Grief. And, like, Griefing can turn on my opponent's Animate Deads and Reanimates for that creature. It's still just a powerful thing to do, though, and, like, getting that into play on turn 1 means that Planeswalkers like Liliana are less likely to run away with the game. That said, I still think I'm doing this. I have no idea whether or not this hand is a mulligan. Specifically, I'm thinking about opposing Grief or another similar fast start like Dark Ritual Liliana. I'm not really good against that, but I don't necessarily want to mulligan too much against what is probably a Thoughtseize style deck list. I think I would keep a quality hand like this on 6. This is fine. I'm going to get rid of the Reanimate since it's not castable, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's the worst card in the hand. Alright, I am getting... Ooh, my opponent has Archons in their build. That is Archon of Cruelties in their build, which means they do have the Entombs, meaning that Leyline is maybe better than I thought it was. I thought with the Urza Saga... It's the fucking rack, I called it. Called it. Alright. I drew a new Ephemerate. I need a 3rd mana source here. Preference to black mana sources. Hey. Exactly what I wanted. I'm going to be slow at getting off the ground this game. It's very good once I do get off the ground. Like, these multiple blade splicers are just absolutely sick value. And my opponent's not exactly, like, bleeding me dry with the rack here or anything. And I also have a Yorion that I can put into my hand to help with that. That's a lot of Urza Saga. And not necessarily in a good way for my opponent. Like, they're not going to maximize construct value here. I maybe just fetch... no, there's Opposition Agent to think about. Let's not potentially run into that when I can just play around it. Like, I don't know that Opposition Agent is something that I should be afraid of when, like, this is just here, but I think I need to respect it. I'm okay fetching next turn, where my opponent will probably have already tapped their lands. Sure. So this Construct token probably doesn't get to attack this turn. Oh, it's a Dark Ritual. Now my opponent can potentially make a 2nd Urza Saga token this turn with like a Mox Diamond or whatever. Multiple racks. Okay. Bowmasters is really good here. Yep. I don't mind that Urborg. That means that I never have to fetch with Polluted Delta. Hell yeah. 16. Still not taking any damage from the rack. Alright. Yeah. Blade Splicer. This is instantaneous, right? This is instantaneous. So I can potentially get blown out by a Bowmaster, another Bowmaster for waiting. But my opponent's probably tapping their mana for Urza Saga, so I think I am going to wait and see if I can get some sort of mid-combat blowout. My opponent's also pretty likely to just like tap their mana for Urza Saga Construct token nonsense. I am going to have to beat down through all of these things before the rack kills me. So I guess that's a thing. Yeah. Sick. What's Ephemerate? Please no snuff out. Nice. These are first strike. So we are going to go ahead. I guess I could have done this differently where I like double block with 2 tokens and then throw... Yeah, I could have done this better. I was thinking about like playing around snuff out, but like it's fine. I think. I take 2. And then I get another token. Playing Soulherder seems worth 2 life. I don't think I play my lands though. Soulherder will eventually get bigger than these construct tokens, although I don't necessarily expect it to stick around forever. So the cool thing is that like cards like Grief aren't actually going to take cards out of my hand for the purposes of the rack. I'm also just like 1 Recruiter of the Guard or Solitude away from ripping this game wide open. Fatal Push? I'm not taking 1. I'll let you Fatal Push. Yeah, that's fine. You may lose 2 life. I accept. I'll take a little from the rack. Bowmasters. Okay. So I will Bowmasters. I will Bowmasters your Bowmasters. I believe it is correct to play a land, put Yorion into my hand, think no attacks, end step, blink Bowmasters, Bowmasters your face. Okay. So my opponent's attack options aren't the best. They've got good defensive options. Maybe they can wait me out with the rack. Another Fatal Push. That's fine. I nearly just have my opponent dead by attacking them. This is great. Opponent does not have a Bowmasters. So let's draw a card. Land's not good. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14 incoming damage. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it a turn here. So now I Soulherder this Strix, draw another card, get further away from the rack hurting me. Lands are not what I am looking for. I think I'm just gonna drown my opponent in cards. Yeah, like this is fine. Okay, yeah, my opponent's just gonna stay defensive. That's fine. I think at this point that favors me. No damage from the rack. Grief. Yeah, if my opponent is setting up some multi-turn line, then this is quite good. Turok and Sheoldred's Edict. I will take both happily. Turok first. I'll just attack for 1. That's perfectly fine. I'll keep all these cards in hand. End step. Soulherder Grief. Soulherder is just getting massive. Sheoldred's Edict is gone. At this point, combat is beginning to be a nightmare for my opponent. I have evasive creatures. I have more blockers than I can shake a stick at. Life's pretty tough. And at some point, I just like draw a Flickerwisp, blink a construct token, and this one's over. A Charming Prince. This is not instantaneous blink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yorion. Post combat. Actually, Charming Prince just gaining life is really good too. All right, opponent's at 15. If I get him to Turok, I lose 2 cards. I could be at 2 cards, take 2. That's fine. I think I can just Yorion. I'll Yorion, blinking these 2. Done. That's 2 counters. End step, Yorion trigger on bottom. Oh wait, no, I didn't want to do it this way. Fuck. Oh well, I don't think it matters. I lose 1 card draw. I don't need to blink anything here. But I could have gotten more value. Take my opponent's Lily. Draw an extra card. I think I might have lethal next turn through Construct. Block, take 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is 21. Theoretical lethal attack next turn. I might not even need to make a lethal attack, though. This is kind of the ideal opponent for us because my opponent's deck is largely slow, and we are conceptually just going a little bit bigger than what they are doing. All right. Oh. Well, that's gross. Asked. I could get cuter here. I don't think I need to risk getting any cuter. Solitude, the one with lifelink. Yeah. Opponent says confirmed after testing 1 damnation in the sideboard. Yeah, that's understandable. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists. And they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. Please don't wasteland me, otherwise keep. I've also turned the good lighting on now. That means wasteland's somewhat likely. I probably get the underground sea wastelanded if that just is a thing that has to happen. All right, we did not draw another land, which is kind of what I wanted to do. Okay, that's not wasteland. And that was a shuffle. That's also not wasteland. Sick. I'm not gonna play this turn in case I get stifled. Like, I just want to cast an Orcish Bowmaster in this turn cycle. I'll cast it in response to an end of turn cracked fetch land, I think. Although I might let my opponent surveil first if that's happening. It is not happening. Okay, we're chilling. I will be casting a Bowmaster's end of turn into like Days and equivalent. My average CMC is relatively high in this deck, so I'm pretty much always going to have something that's dazeable. I'm not going to be able to play around that all game, every game. Fuck. My deck. This is bullshit. I'm so fucking upset right now. I'm so upset. Fuck me. Alright. Oh, I'll use my Solitude to answer the Doorkeeper's role. Oh, wait. That's not how that works. We're playing this purely as a 3-power attacker here. And it does not feel good. My entire deck is countered by this card. And my removal for it is countered by this card. Okay. Don't stifle me. I'm not willing to take the 2 off the Ancient Tomb. We'll do Tundra for variety. This at least gives me another thing that can start attacking. Opponent says no. Pitching Dress down. So seeing that Dress down is confirmation of what I already expected, that my opponent was probably playing like a Bant Stifle Knot deck. And the Doorkeeper Thrall that we're seeing here is meant to stop the trigger from Phyrexian Dreadnought, so my opponent can just have a 1-mana 12/12. There are Wastelands over there. That's an Uro. Sure. The good news is that as things currently stand, my opponent is never damaging me with Uro, because Uro attacks, draws 3, or gains 3, draws a card, I make a chump blocker immediately. Yeah. Soulherder again. Yes. I think yes. Take a little extra here to make this work. It doesn't matter what I blink, because I'm just doing this for the +1/+1 counter. I don't actually get the sweet ability. The goal is to turn Soulherder into something that forces Uro on the defensive. And that really 1, 2, we're putting a 3rd there because of Stifle. Absolutely. Fuck that thing. It's dead. I don't even care that my Orc isn't 1 bigger. Holy shit, I am so happy right now. My deck gets to function. Ping. I think I'm just fine with jumping. What a fucking draw. Thing does have Flash. Attack with this is probably bad. Attack with these are probably okay. If my opponent endurances, I let them block. I ephemerate whatever, and then that all seems to be fine. Alright, let's do this. Alright, my opponent takes 5. I think I just moved to end step and attempt to Soulherder the Solitude. Yes. Holy moly. Everything is good. Soulherder gets so thick. And I think I'll just let my opponent's turn proceed. I'm not super expecting something like a, Supreme Verdict or something out of my opponent. But I think it's pretty free to wait on Orcish Bowmasters for a touch longer. And it's my goal to basically never drop white for Ephemerate. Prismatic Ending on Soulherder. What if no, though? What if no? So, this is a good situation to be in. This is worth the life here. We'll go ahead and Bowmaster my opponent. Put them to 16. I now get to rebound this. I am fine ephemerating a Bowmaster. I lose 1 damage in combat from this not attacking, but I just gain that damage back immediately from the ping and making this Orc larger. So this is honestly just disgusting. Recruiter is cool. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think I'll just send all of this and Recruiter for a new Solitude or something. This is just such an incredible engine that I've got going on at this point. So, yes. Yeah, so I'll take a new Solitude here. End of turn. I think I'll just keep growing the Orc and untap this creature. Disgusting. It's possible that I'm supposed to blink Recruiter and just put an extra card in my hand. So I need 4x copies of Swords to Plowshares to help out with Doorkeeper Thrall. That was my opponent's game. I could not beat that Doorkeeper Thrall, and then they brainstormed and punted it, and I am very, very, very thankful for that fact. So what's bad? My black cards are in theory very, very, very good in this matchup. Reanimate maybe a touch less so, but like that's gonna matter for things like blocking dreadnoughts or whatever with Strix. I maybe don't want a Grief. Although maybe like Doorkeeper Thrall is such an issue that I need to respect it more and even maybe play Thoughtseize. Maybe I do like mana efficiency. That gets me this, and then I just trim a couple things with ETB triggers. Charming Prince? Maybe Charming Prince. I might be wrong about Grief, and I might play the Griefs when I'm on the play. This is like fine. It's very fair. I'm gonna mulligan once. I don't like this either. 5-card hand might be better than this. It's like good value if Doorkeeper Thrall doesn't happen, but I don't have the Thoughtseize or Swords to Plowshares that I really need to make this hand pop. But maybe on 6, I just kind of accept that and attempt to like Scryland my way towards a relevant spell. I think this will be worth playing. Sure. I am going to just go for it here. It's annoying if I get stifled, but like I have so many lands that I think I'm just fine with that. Sure. And I'll do it a second time right now. Shadowy Backstreet. I do not need that land. That's annoying. I still have plenty of mana though. That's the upside of keeping the hand that I have kept. Alright, we're just chilling at this point. I think this just chilling favors me. It's different if my opponent just like end of turn dress downs and then makes a dreadnought. Like that's still a problem. One-time dealer? Yeah. I gotta try. My opponent redrew the cards, so like they like their cards. They had the option to fetch stuff away. Stop it. I need these for crimes. Any land drop, and I get to like kick things off in a pretty impressive fashion. All right, there's a fetch. Sure. Are we Murktiding? There was some waiting to pay costs thing going on. Opponent just says no. Oh, this is fine. Like, I'm still just sitting on removal here. I'm not making the land drops that I would like to be making, but I don't think my position is currently bad. I think Restoration Angel is my current pitch if I have to Solitude something. Alright, it is Dreadnought time. The opponent will do this and then, like, stifle the trigger or whatever. Yep. You've got a 12-12. My opponent has 3 cards left. Some amount of this is presumably defensive stuff. So, like, I expect this is going to get countered. Oh. Well, I guess it could still get stifled, right? Oh, it's just working. I'm not going to Ephemerate this creature. That's not what that spell's for. I don't just need a 3-power creature against my opponent's 31 life. Like, Ephemerate on something like a Blade Splicer matters so much more. Daze? Daze. Oh, that's fine. And that Daze was not valid to protect against Solitude. I'm kind of surprised my opponent went for it if they didn't have... Sarah Paragon is insane if it resolves. It didn't have protection that's meaningful. I think because of how my curve works out, I do this one this turn. And then that lets me, like, play a good card from the graveyard while ephemerating. This is dazable, but I've already seen 2 dazes this game. So I think I'm just into this. I do have to pay the costs on this. It's not for free. Yeah, that's fine. Like, Soulherder can also just generate an absurd amount of value paired with literally anything else. Strix is largely great. Let's do it. Cool. I think I'll do an upkeep blink. I guess I could hit a land drop. All right, I'll blink now. Rough. Yeah. Rip. So that just hangs out in exile forever. And I'll take a little Containment Priest damage. I will not be ephemerating. Did I just put Yorion into my hand? It's just a fat creature. I'll just put Yorion into my hand right now. My opponent's deck is very well suited to beating mine. In terms of like the resources that are at their disposal with the Stifles and Containment Priests and Doorkeeper Thralls. Sure. Perfectly fine casting this and just seeing what's going on over there. I'll take the instant speed one. And I'm fine trading a Soulherder for a Prismatic Ending. This is a May. If my opponent doesn't use Prismatic Ending and I play another Soulherder, when they Prismatic Ending a Soulherder, that will exile a card from the battlefield and grow the other Soulherder, which is kind of sweet. Yeah, I'm fine taking some damage here. 13. So I don't think my opponent has a good instant spell. I think if they have a good instant spell, they just pass the turn and don't Prismatic Ending, but they're tanking about whether or not they Prismatic Ending. Yeah. We trade these. Reanimate is not great right now. So it goes. We'll just resolve a Soulherder. My opponent can keep hitting me with Containment Priest. Like, eventually I will draw a land, play a Yorion, and then I will, like, greatly outclass my opponent's threat. I think the longer we stare at each other, the better it is for me. I think. My opponent finding, like, Doorkeeper Thrall or whatever is obviously a problem, though. Alright, opponent tanked for a little while and resolved their Brainstorm. Taking a hit here. I'm at 11. Reanimate is not the draw that I am looking for. I don't think 1 point of damage matters right now. I am just going to pass the turn. I don't want to walk into a flash 2-2. Or a flash 2-1, for that matter. If I draw a Swords to Plowshares for Containment Priest before my life total gets too low, I think things are okay. I don't know, with the stuff that's in the graveyard right now, maybe that's not true. Maybe it's just land that I'm looking to draw, so Yorion stabilizes the board. I will play a 2-2. This relevantly stops the Containment Priest from attacking. This is a May, so I am not going to do this. Stop. That was a good Brainstorm, by the way. Ending up with these. I'm still eating 2 in the air every turn until I resolve Yorion, which, like, stifles and dazes and stuff, and wastelands might stop that from happening. Yeah, no, that's bad. So I play Yorion. Opponent attacks me with a 12-12, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really 10 incoming, yeah. I think we end up a little short here. Deck did not deliver for me. I might need Grief for the early game. I know my opponent has Containment Priest as well. Now, like, maybe I continue to cut things that blink. Like, go down some Ephemerates or Flickerwisps or whatever. I could go down Reanimate since that's bad against Containment Priest. But, like, Reanimate and Ephemerate are so good with the turn 1 Grief that I'm bringing back in. And Grief is still just a 3-2 menace that attacks through my opponent's worst creatures. Down Ephemerates? I don't know. Maybe a mix. I want to keep a Flickerwisp to Recruiter for. This is fine. I'm using my fetch land on turn 1. I think I have to get a scrub land. I think that's just necessary. Alright. Double Doorkeeper Thrall. That's some shit. That's very frustrating. I guess I'm taking one. Yup. No black card. No black card to answer the other one. Fuck. Life has a cruel fucking sense of humor. I am going to draw that because it is just a creature that attacks after Doorkeeper Thrall does its Doorkeeper Thrall thing. Okay. So I think I do cast a spell here. This is a little weird, admittedly. I think I do this to force the Doorkeeper Thrall, and then crap 2 bodies into play immediately. Yeah. Yes. So I guess I only have to Grief right now if I want to do that. It's possible for tempo reasons I just wait. Like, these are dazable right now, which would be a disaster. My opponent only has 1 unknown card. If it's not a blue card or a daze in particular, I just, like, put this into play, this into play. One of these is answered by swords. Maybe I try to treat these as individual cards that each require an answer. This is weird fucking territory. I don't know. Like, there's also, like, wastelands and stifles and stuff to think about from here. Or sorry, it was 2 unknown cards. The opponent is willing to trade 1 damage for 1 damage, which makes sense. I'm willing for this to be dazable. That's almost good. I don't think I attack with Blade Splicer. I think I just attack with Solitude. That's fine. Then I think I'm just putting this into my hand and not doing Grief still. I think I'm trying to exhaust my opponent's resources. I guess time included. Alright. Well, I am happy enough attempting to cast a Yorion, and presumably getting Force of Willed. It does cost my opponent 2 cards, though. It is Force and a Stifle. I don't think I attack into Containment Priest and another Doorkeeper Thrall. Like, this body isn't valuable right now, but could very, very easily become important later on. 15. At some point, I might need to give up and just cast this. With a second one of these, so I'll still have something around to blink, I think I'm willing to do it now. Okay. Let's Splicer. I don't think I'm under enough pressure to do this yet. That's cool. So now we do this? Weird. Okay. Alright, so this is in play. I can Swords this and attack for 2. Which I think I'm fine with. Alright, opponent lets that go. They thought about it. They might have another counterspell. They might just have another one of those as well. Alright. No dress down. Okay. I'm fine shoving. I'm not exactly sure what my opponent has over there. It's not good cards. That much I am confident about. But I'm not sure, like, what combination of weird, like, dress down, Phyrexian Dreadnought, Prismatic Ending, situational cards are going on over there. Sure. 13 is a magic number for me right now. I would like to, in theory, stay above that. Okay. I'm going to attempt to fetch my black one of these. Yeah. No. Oh, that's very good. So now if my opponent plays like some mid-combat Containment Priest or whatever, I just flash in Restoration Angel and get my value while their scary thing is on the stack. Yeah, no. So Restoration Angel. The blowout is that if my opponent like has a Containment Priest as well, like this is pretty savage. I think I'm doing this. Damn it. Stifle. Okay. That could have been much worse. Alright, so now my opponent can block a Blade Splicer, take 4, and still be potentially facing down lethal anyway, though. Like Restoration Angel plus Grief is lethal. They may have to chump block. Also, like, clock is beginning to become a concern for my opponent. I'm fine. Okay, sure. I am unsure whether swordsing Restoration Angel or Grief is better. Like, the menace matters a lot right now. Sure. Okay, yeah, my opponent just cantripped with Dress Down because things were so desperate. That's a very bad card here. If this goes through, this shuts off Force of Will and Fetch lands for the remainder of the game, unless an Uro happens. Cool. I only have 2 Surveil lands, so I don't need to play this land for any reason. We have gotten the GG. That was a hell of a fucking slog. I'm very happy that we won, but this deck was very much designed to beat us. Alrighty. Hand is easily a keep. All basics to start with, rather than a Surveil land, I think. Blue, black, white, white. I think I'm into that. We're pretty good against Fair Island, and we're not great versus Unfair Island. So let's get our 2 basics. And then fire off this Strix. My opponent tapped an untapped island, which maybe means that they were thinking about Daze and then thought better of it. So I'm just going to kind of keep in mind that my opponent might have Daze for the future. Oh, or maybe they were just thinking about land cycling in response. Sure. We've got Island and Trop. My mind is kind of in Bant territory right now. Probably up the beanstalk, yeah. And this is all fine. I'm a little punished by having so many basics here because I can't like Charming Prince and Ephemerate in this turn cycle. But I think that's fine. Love tap for 1. We'll Charming Prince in an attempt to draw a card. I am fine if you Force of Will my Charming Prince. I'm just saying I would be okay with that. Blinky blink. Blinky blink is successful. Hey dog. Heard you liked Charming Prince. So we Charming Prince your Charming Prince, so you can Charming Prince your Charming Prince, so you can Charming Prince your Baleful Strix. Pew, 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 pew. This art does have a certain energy to it. Sure. I think I'm just firing in on the attack step and seeing what happens and going from there. Opponent has paused in my draw step. They've got some playable card. Could be Bowmasters. Send it. Okay, cool. Opponent is at 16. Recruiter, I think? A dress down. This is going to stop this tutor. If I want, I can Ephemerate a Baleful Strix right here and just draw another card and probably sneak that spell in. My opponent's not about to do anything broken. Yeah. I think I just like doing this in a spot where I know I'm not about to just get got by Orcish Bowmasters. Oh, and swords. Okay. That was a very good turn for my opponent then. Alright, so our stack clears. Opponent's up a card from the dress down draw. Cantrips are fine. I would just kind of love for my opponent to like tap out for an Uro or something. That's just safer for me to do my thing. Sure. Bowmasters is just a little annoying here. What I have in terms of flash stuff in the main deck. Bowmasters. And what am I in terms of basics? 3 plains, 1 island, 2 swamp? 2 swamp. What fetch land is in my hand? It is a swamp fetch land. I'm going to play this. Go to combat. Just attack for 2. I guess when my opponent Bowmasters like this is dead anyway on the trigger. All right. That works. I think I'm into this. And then putting the Yorion into my hand. The Charming Prince, and then Recruiter? Yes. Leyline Binding. Yeah, so by Charming Prince, the Charming Prince, a removal spell targets the Charming Prince and leaves the Recruiter for the Yorion, which feels relevant. Now we'll get yet another basic, so I don't get wastelanded. And Yorion comes to hand. It has so many cards still. Hopefully one of them is not Force of Will. I beat Dazed by just playing Scrubland. Yep. Ooh. Don't mind if I do. Attempt Solitude. That is a Force of Will. Pitching another Murktide. Means I don't have good attacks this turn. We'll chill. I don't think it's worth giving up the Yorion to save 7 points of life here. Surveil Land or Endurance? Sure. Yeah, that's probably a net positive for them. That puts a lot of fetch lands back into my deck. This extra 3 damage matters a lot. Might jump block. Nah. I think I'm going to lose the game if this Solitude does not resolve. And I think if this Solitude resolves, I don't really care about Endurance all that much anymore. My opponent tapped and untapped 4 lands. Alright. Show me another Force of Will. Alright, they did show me another Force of Will. I die in the air to this hit. If I chump block Endurance, I can instead chump block Endurance a second time and go to a low life total and then play Yorion. They livey. Like, I've got other ways that I can play this one. Like, I can attempt to, like, Yorion, pitch Yorion to Solitude on this. That way, if I top deck another one like I did, I could attempt to cast that. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that doesn't work. Okay, what's the conceptual game plan? Don't die to Murktide Regent and massively outvalue my opponent? Sounds about right. Thoughtseize becomes Swords to Plowshares. Reanimate definitely becomes worse. I don't really want to overload on removal, though. Like, Solitude plus a couple of swords plus Strix is probably enough. Maybe we do something like that. We're on a very different mana base this game. This game is probably all non-basic lands. Which one of these do I fetch? Like, it's definitely one of the 2 Surveil lands. I think I care about blue-white more. Is this one? No? I think I'm not ready for that. Sure. Let's cycle this. My Ephemerate's not good till a bit later. Well, we found another Solitude anyway. Green? Oh, sure. Don't Bowmaster. Don't do it. He has so much to live for. No. Honestly, this isn't too bad. Like, another one would be rough. Like, I am okay losing a creature to a Bowmasters. Losing 2 in a row to Bowmasters. That would be annoying. And then kind of from here, I can like play a Soulherder with Ephemerate backup. And that starts to sound pretty strong. Sure. There's a fetch land to follow up the Brainstorm. Cool. I don't think I'm going to use the fetch land yet. I think I'm just interested in attacking with the 3/3 and seeing what happens and kind of going from there. Cool. 17. I'm going to attempt a Soulherder now. This has been sitting on the stack for a while. So I'm going to assume that my opponent has some sort of spot removal, maybe a Swords to Plowshares. All right, we're in play. We're now going to target this Blade Splicer. And I assume that this gets disrupted now. Yeah. That's Leyline Binding, targeting my Splicer. So I will attempt to Ephemerate. This is Dazable. Ayo. So we grow Soulherder. It can't be pinged by Bowmasters anymore. And I get some nice Phyrexian Golem action going on. And if my opponent doesn't like start removing my creatures very quickly, the Ephemerate is going to do gross things. I mean, so will the Soulherder for that matter. I don't know which you remove if you have a single removal spell and can only remove one of them. I love that I have Grief to like break up something like a Supreme Verdict for next turn. All right. We will attempt to Ephemerate the Blade Splicer. My opponent tapped white and then untapped and fetched. Dress down. Sure, that's pretty annoying. That means that I can't just Grief away a Supreme Verdict here, which was a thing that I wanted to do. Okay. And swords. Rough. I mean, that was the 2 removal spells that my opponent needed. All right, they're at 9. Fury into hand is okay. I think I'll just intend on playing an end of my opponent's turn Solitude. Opponent cantrips. That was a very fast shuffle. Seems like this is Murktide Regent. I got Solitude for that. So this is fine. With my opponent on just 3 cards left, I think I am comfortable just hard casting the Solitude rather than pitch casting it and hard casting Grief first. Remove Murktide. And we'll just kind of keep the value engine going here. Ooh. I actually don't mind that at all, because that lets me do both my things this turn. So let's Grief. And then this helps inform my attacks. Leyline Binding Null Rod? Well, I'll take a Leyline Binding. Green, blue, black, white. That is castable. Send it. Send it. Don't send it. I think I'm using my 3 mana to put Yori into my hand. Sure. All right, they're just going to take out a token. That's fine. All right, they're just going to take 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. I can also just put another Blade Splicer into play right now and just be like attacking for damn near lethal next turn. Let's put the Yori into hand. Let's just like not make myself worse against Terminus and Supreme Verdict, which are already going to be the best against me. Oh, that's very good. That's very, very, very good. Send it, send it, send it. Okay, my opponent's just going to soak up damage. That's fine. They take 6. I think I'm okay casting a Charming Prince, but I hold the Yorian. I'm not sure if it's Grief or Blade Splicer. My opponent does not make me choose. Yeah, so like, the difference between this game and last game is that my opponent did not have an Up the Beanstalk in play to kind of make their 1-for-1 trades favorable. And I answered the Murktide Regent that would threaten to close the game. Like those are the 2 things that we would like to line up well. So now what? I could see going down some Reanimates on the draw. It'll make the whole like Grief scam thing less likely to happen. But I could just like hedge against all this white removal anyway, go down some of these and just play a couple more answers to the Murktides. And like Swords of Plowsharing a Bowmaster is like perfectly reasonable as well. Yeah, this hand's pretty good. I could do Grief Ephemerate nonsense on turn 1. Bowmasters is such a good card though. My opponent mulligan though? Like Grief Ephemerate just represents taking their 3 best cards. I may not be able to resist. It's so fucking juicy. Like if my opponent just taps out to Ponder, I think I do it. Ponder. Yes. It's really bad if it doesn't work. I can't resist. I am incapable of not attempting this. All right, Grief. Take up the Beanstalk. Ephemerate. Take Orcish Bowmasters, I think. That just represents a way to block this Grief. It's possible that my opponent can now, like, ponder into Swords... Or no, it's Tropical Island. Yeah, so they can't ponder into removal unless they randomly drew one of those 2 already. Actually, why did I take Bowmasters if they have double Trop? I still probably take Bowmasters. It represents a way to kill the Grief. Okay, there's a Trop. So I now will Ephemerate this Grief to just get more value. What you got? Oh yeah, sure. I literally don't care what I take. I just want to take a card. Oh yeah, those are cards. I will take a Murktide Regent, thank you. I'll Meticulous Archive here. I'm going to keep that. My opponent just let me take a Murktide when I think Murktide Regent is very good. Like, that's a card that they did not want to hide. So... Oh? No more lands. Noted. Maybe that was just a sloppy brainstorm and my opponent should not have kept that card in hand, but just, like, saw no lands and we're like, ah, fuck it, whatever. Yeah. Splicer. Dress down's fine. I've got Blink in this deck. So here's the cantrip to attempt to find the next land drop. We've got Solitude Chilling in hand as a way to answer an Uro or a Murktide. I do also just have a respectable amount of power in play. I think I'm firing in with both here. I think this is an every point of life is valuable situation. This attack makes me much worse against Orcish Bowmasters than I otherwise would be, though. Yorion? I don't think I mind just playing Recruiter. We're getting a response. I'm tired of this asshole. You got it. That means that my opponent can just play their Uro for 3 mana, which is what we see. But my opponent has 1 card left. We'll see how this plays out. Just finding a Source of Plowshares would be cool. Nope. Graveyard with that. Land drop. Combat. 3. Opponent takes that. I'll send this Yorion to my hand. And we'll attempt to set up for the future. Yeah, this is fine. It's very good for my opponent. I'm just going to take the hit. It's a big hit. Solitude? What is this? Oh, Lorien Revealed. That makes more sense. That's horrifying. That just potentially represents a force of will to back things up. I may need to start playing towards timing out my opponent. Okay. I think I'm into this attack. No, I won't. I don't get the Yorion Blanket. I might just be like trying to block this Uro. This one? Rather than the Solitude, because the Solitude gets... I guess they both get much better if I draw a Source to Plowshares. I have all of those in right now, right? I do. I am a Yorion deck list, so like that's a thing. Like, do I want to gang block into 5 open mana? No, let's give it one more draw step, I think. Maybe I chump with Recruiter. I still have a lot of value on board. I don't know, if I'm doing this, I missed 3 points of damage with Grief. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, this one's slipping away. I don't know if I win this one unless my opponent times out. Oh, good God. Yeah, so it feels like I missed 3 points of damage that's very relevant. I'll send in for 7. My opponent is at 7. I'm going to play this land. I don't intend on fetching. That's a 1-1. Wow, cycling Lorien Revealed over drawing 5 for 5 mana? Sure. There's land drop. There's Chump Block. Oh. Triumph. So am I playing Solitude this turn? If I draw Swords to Plowshares and my stuff resolves, I Swords to Plowshares, roll Solitude away one of these other things, and then hope to blink from there. I think that's the plan. That's rough, though. Well, yeah. Attempt Swords. Attempt Solitude. I'll do it around double days because I can afford to, and I'm not a Brainstorm deck. Solitude Triumph. That makes my attacks, in theory, good this turn. But I did just give my opponent a metric shit ton of life. Oh, it's another Bowmaster, sure. So I can lose the Grief in combat. Why the ping on Grief? That ping could have gone to my face for the same effect. I have 2 toughness. I'm going to give my opponent the benefit of the doubt that they are just trying to play quickly as to not time out, though. Because that is a very real concern for them right now. I'll be taking this Uro hit. I regain half of it from Solitude. At least in theory. Fucking stop. Marsh Flats is not what I need. I guess now I'm on the defensive versus this. Rough. Now I chump block, take 5, go to 6. I've got outs. JK, I'm dead. GG's. I don't know if I keep this. So I don't do anything turn 1 or turn 2 when I'm on the play. I have got a really good value engine. I don't have white currently. Maybe keeping this and getting a Surveil land makes it overall fine. I'm going to hope that that is the case. The Surveil land could also randomly set up Reanimate, which would just vastly improve my hand. Fetch. So both of my Surveil lands are white. I think I'll take white blue. Hey, nice. Put that into graveyard. Weird, but I like it. Reanimate target recruiter of the guard. Opponent just let that happen. Soulherder is great value. If I had a black card in hand, I'd just grab a Grief here. Solitude's a good get. I think I'm just going to grab Soulherder. Opponent is doing something of their own now. Their own Surveil land. Crashing Footballs. Okay, so I know what my opponent is playing now. They're playing like the Shardless Agent Cascade deck. If they've got a Spirit Guide and they can go this turn, it's a little spooky. Otherwise, I can maybe just outvalue what they've got going on. I don't want to lose this in combat to Violent Outburst for Rhinos, so I think I just play a Soulherder and start this value train immediately. Let's do this. Okay. I guess Fire Ice is rough. I got Reanimate, it'll be fine. Yeah. Alright, there's a Spirit Guide, so my opponent is going to main phase make some Rhinos, and then I will unmake those fucking Rhinos. Ooh. I don't get to unmake as many Rhinos as I wanted to immediately. This is fine. Blue-black. Draw a card. Fetch a white source. Probably a scrub. Reanimate target Soulherder? I think. The Soulherder Flickerwisp just wins this matchup. I will blink this end of turn. Scale up my creature. Ephemerate is insane. So now I kind of feel like if I make it through this turn without taking something crazy, like actual factual 10 points of damage, like Flickerwisp, Ephemerate probably just ends up carrying this. But like there's things like Fire Ice that are very, very good here. Sure. Am I blocking? If I take 10, I go to 2. I fetched a 1. This can hit my face. Then I Flickerwisp this, end step Flickerwisp this, block this easily. Yeah, I think I take 10. I'm dead to a Force of Will. Dead to a Fire Ice. Reanimate is a touch late. We get Tundra. Attempt Flickerwisp. Wisp a token. That scales this up. Then we'll do this again. Wisp the token. And now we have a very good blocker for ground-based things. We have a flying blocker for Brazen Borrower as well. I can also like Brazen Borrower, so I have a blocker for a Murktide Regent. Or sorry, I can Baleful Strix, so I have a blocker for a Murktide Regent, and I can have Ephemerate. So I think the thing that is most likely to kill me is just a fire directly to my fucking face. And Charming Prince would be my way to get out of that. That on my white source is a little annoying. Yep. Well, let's get that out of the way. So, blue-black. Draw a card. Not even going to play that land drop yet. So, am I attacking? My opponent Violent Outbursts. There's 2 4/4 Rhinos. I deal with one by Ephemerating Flickerwisp. I block the other with Soulherder. I am not attacking. I have a lot of fetch lands in my deck. Soulherder Strix. Throw that. Draw my card. Solitude would be cool. Ephemerate, again, is cool. It's an Endurance. Sure. That's fine. So my opponent can put Rhinos back into their deck. My opponent didn't have blue-blue for Brazen Borrower. Maybe I can squeeze an attack in with this and then like blink the Flickerwisp instead. I've got options for like end-step blink, Flickerwisp, blink out lands as well. Maybe that was the line. Sure. I guess I could also die to like Minsc and Boo. Cool. End of turn. Attempt to Ephemerate Strix. Cool. Draw a card. Non-fetch land is very good. Rebound Strix. Draw. Recruiter is great. Totally happy with that. That's in fact probably what I'm doing this turn. So Recruiter of the Guard. Trigger. Yes. Get Solitude. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I wait. Yeah, I think I wait. Because in a pinch, I can Solitude my own Soulherder for a shit ton of life. My current plan is Soulherder, my Recruiter, get another Solitude. Yes. Solitude. Put my counter on that. Now, Solitude, pitch like a Blade Splicer. I'll take out your Endurance. Throw my Critter. Ephemerate Solitude. Solitude your Shardless Agent. And then I still have a Solitude left over if things get a little wild. And I need to, like, gain 12 life at instant speed. So now my opponent to beat me would need, like, Fire, Ice, plus Force of Will blue card. But yeah, Shardless Agent is fine. Anything spicy here? Not really. You have Rhinos. Sure. Okay. Oh, right, there's Rebound. Ephemerate a Flickerwisp. This doesn't give my opponent life. Flickerwisp a token. Gain so much life. Put that over there. Kind of like the idea for Restoration Angel for another flyer. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Restoration Angel. Restoration Angel targets Flickerwisp. It's summoning sick already. Yes. Growing Soulherder. Flickerwisp targets this Rhino token. Continue to grow Soulherder. Combat. Fine trading that. Fine swinging with this. I have 2 flyers back. This all seems fine. Yeah, okay. Well, that was dominating. Bowmasters is kind of medium. My opponent's not normally going to be drawing cards. This whole like Flickerwisp, Soulherder, Solitude engine is what's going to win me this matchup. Don't know that it's really the black cards. I'm going to play these just to help me like weather the storm versus Rhinos and Murktides. Not sure how I feel about Reanimate. Every single point of life matters, as that previous game just showed us. So I think I'm okay submitting like this. This feels a little slow. I don't think I keep pace with turn 2 rhinos with this. Grief Ephemerate. Confirmed in previous games to be good. Grief Ephemerate into Charming Prince. Oh! Hot. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, opponent does not need mana. Oh. Yeah. Grief, pitch Grief. Take a card. I'm going to end up taking 3 of these in some combination. I'm always taking this removal spell. And we Grief again. I kind of want to just take Lorien Revealed, and then my opponent does not have blue mana this game. And then I take Murktide Regent the following turn. I'm into it. Hopefully my opponent does not top deck Violent Outburst specifically, because Taiga Spirit Guide Violent Outburst would make 10 power in a way that I don't interact with here. Alright, suspend Footfalls. Ephemerate. This Grief. Man, you thought reanimating it was good. Alright, Murktide Regent, gone. Bowmasters. Eh. Do I take Elvish Spirit Guide? I don't think so. I think I'm just gonna straight up scry 2. Tundra, go away. Soulherder, welcome to the party. I can make a very large Soulherder very quickly, to the point where I don't think I mind this too awful much. We'll see if my opponent casts the 2/2. It's like a perfectly reasonable thing for them to do. Oh, they ripped a Shardless Agent. Sure. That makes my life a little harder. We'll see, though. So we play Soulherder. When does it come back? At the beginning of the next end step. Okay. So I will, I think, do this way. I will blink Charming Prince, grow Soulherder by 1, then Soulherder ETBs. I can exile Grief to grow Soulherder by another one, or I can just like scry 2 towards a removal spell, or I can gain 3 life. All these modes are just good. I think I'm just going to target the Grief and grow Soulherder. I would like a 5/5 Soulherder. And as soon as Soulherder is a 3/3, it plays around Fire Ice better. The end step Grief is kind of whatever. My opponent might have an Elvish Spirit Guide in play by then. Yep. I take 8 damage. My opponent maybe could have squeezed 1 more damage out of me here by attacking with this before playing out their cards. Alright. That's a Plains. So now, yeah. Bowmaster pings some creature. Maybe could have gotten some attacks in here. Soulherder. Blink this. Maybe I kill the Spirit Guide to shuffle the Spirit Guide back into the deck if they endurance themselves. That's probably better. And now I can probably start thinking about just like trading away a couple bodies for a Rhino. Then we'll finish pinging this. And I'm not quite willing to say that we're stable yet, but I think we've got a really good chance if my opponent does not play an impactful card here. You know, if they can like Violent Outburst or something right here and just like keep the hits coming, it's pretty scary for me. But if they whiff this turn, I think I like where I'm at. Petty Theft, sure. So this is 10 incoming damage. Grief and Bowmaster block on 1. Maybe I'll leave myself with Charming Prince and do like this, take 4. I think I like that well enough. Or sorry, it's 5. Grief is not a good draw here. So I will Soulherder. I guess this attack is free. I'm blinking it anyway. 17. Sure. Yes. I don't know which mode to do here. It's not the bottom one. I think it's Scry 2. I need like removal spells and good bodies. 3, 4. Okay, I get attacked for 4. I'm at 3. Then there's 12 incoming next turn, plus Brazen Borrower. I don't think either one of those gets me out of this situation. Bottom. I have 1 more land. Solitude is just insane. But I don't. What if I took the Sarah Paragon and just double block this turn? Play Sarah Paragon? No, I'm just dead if I do that. That's why I didn't do that. I don't think I get that. I take 4. I don't know what my outs are, but I know that I don't have outs without Soulherder. I'm pretty confident about that. That is not going to do it. I will concede. Other than reanimate, I don't think I have too many viable options. I guess Thoughtseize is okay. Go reanimate out for a Thoughtseize. No? I'm uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable keeping this. I think my opponent is a known wasteland deck. Fuck. Yeah, I wasn't going to 5. Okay, GG. I don't imagine that I beat this. Like, I can rip running lands for the next 3 to 5 turns and maybe, but this is a bad spot. Alright, my opponent suspends Rhinos. And I continue to miss land drops. Alright, is it happening yet? It's not happening yet. However, I'm already at the point where I'm moving to discard, which is like a horrible sign. Sure, at least it's not, you know, violent outburst into immediate power. I'll discard a Soulherder. 2 turns away from this now, yep. Okay, no Shardless Agent. Hey, it's a land. And that land can maybe get me another land. This land also just does represent Solitude Ephemerate. Sure. So that resolves. I think while that's still on the stack, I go for a basic. Rip Baleful Strix. I guess I really should have resolved the Solitude first before I fetch, because if Solitude does not resolve, I fetch a different land other than basic planes. Alright, attempt Ephemerate. It worked. So you're telling me there's a chance. You know, there's still this coming, but Ephemerate, I guess, answers that. Hey, basic lands. They're good. Please just have 5 lands in hand, opponent. My poor heart can't take anything else. Guess I don't rebound. Swing? Swing, I guess. I'm not winning this game by not attacking. So now I Ephemerate. And then I get to answer one of the 2 Rhinos. Blinky, blinky. I don't get to immediately remove, though. I'll do it at next upkeep. Alright, Rhinos again. Please don't kill my Solitude. Hey, attempt Ephemerate? Get rid of a Rhino? Playing this land does not actually allow me to play any new spells. I guess I don't play this land. I'll pass the turn and upkeep Swords of Plowshares this Rhino. Swords. That's a hard cast. Force of Will. Sure. Yeah, I'll take 4. I get to gain 3 of that right back. That's a largely positive situation for me. The land drop situation is still awkward. 28. Yeah, I think I continue to hold it because, like, there are some white 2-drops like Charming Prince that I could draw and actually cast with this. Sure, that's fine. Like, that's a real card with text here because it means my Solitude attack isn't free anymore. Sure. I am an unparalleled genius. So handsome and smart. Blinky? No. Yeah, that's fine. I will absolutely trade for Spirit Guide if my opponent attacks. Yep. So the Rhino on its own is not that threatening. It's the follow-up to the Rhino that I'm scared of. Pitching a Spirit Guide. Pitching 2 Spirit Guides? What the fuck is this? Oh, just a Spirit Guide misclick of some kind. Okay. I think now I'm dead. Because now I need, like, running removal spells and my opponent to also just not cast anything and my spells to resolve. That's unfortunate. Well, that's the first removal spell. No, stop it. Now I remove this, I still take lethal damage. Well, damn. GG's. I don't know how I feel about this one. It's, like, quite slow, but has a shit ton of recursion. I'm going to try keeping this and hope that Surveil Land gets me something to do in the first couple of turns. This league has been insanely long. Like, if we have another grindy round, this is going to be like a 5-hour to record league. So hopefully it isn't. The gameplay has been very enjoyable though. Like I am not. Oh, sure. This Solitude in my hand is probably very good. Blue-white? Blade Splicer can go to Graveyard. I'm just going to reanimate that, I think. Yeah, I think I am just going to reanimate that. I have a lot of removal options in my future. I'm not going to take immediate damage. I have an answer to a name sticker goblin if my opponent just fires one of those off. The good news is that this matchup probably goes faster one way or another. Oh, is it food chain goblins? Yeah, sure. Recruiter for Soulherder? That seems like a very reasonable source of card advantage here. Bowmasters isn't bad exactly as of right now. I think I'm just into this, and I'm not going to attack. I'm just going to hold back and keep my first strike stuff live. Wasteland's obviously good. Got another land, though, so like that's not that big of a deal. And the land can come back later with Sarah Paragon, which hasn't gotten a chance to pop off this league yet. Goblin Matron, you got it. I don't have a black card for a Grief. Oh, it's Name Sticker Goblin instead. That's fine. That's beatable. Sure. So I'm going to fetch a tapped land so I can look at my deck and figure out what I'm doing, I guess. Maybe I'm not. I can do it this way. I can't play and cast Bowmasters immediately. So it's like Solitude is the big thing that I could do immediately. I think we're doing this and starting Blade Splicers. And I think I'm going to hold back for a little while longer. And we're just going to make the team stronger. So then next turn, I can Recruiter for Bowmaster, play Bowmaster. Maybe, if I don't get Wastelanded. My opponent may Wasteland me. I want to kill Skirk Prospector because I'm scared of Muxus, just naturally from hand. I think I get to Solitude Namesticker Goblin this turn and stop that in the short term. And then I Recruiter for 5-mana Recruiter for Bowmaster, Bowmaster this. So I pitch Sarah Paragon, despite the fact that Sarah Paragon is good. Goodbye. So exile Namesticker Goblin, which grows Soulherder. And then that ability fizzles. I take nothing in combat this turn. I can also surveil land here. Gotta be this one. That's an average draw. I really don't know about that. I'm gonna say no. Sure. Recruiter. Yes. Bowmaster. Cast Bowmaster. Bowmaster ping Skirk. My opponent sacks to deny the Orc trigger. I'll go to combat. Now I believe that I am the beatdown. Send this. Send this. I don't think I send this. Alright, opponent's at 15. End of turn. Soulherder. I'll blink Bowmaster. Bowmaster, just ping that Matron. Will make future Skirk Prospectors worse. And then the next thing that I would like to do from here is get like white card plus Solitude in hand, so I can break up a Namesticker Goblin, because Namesticker Goblin into Muxus is now the thing that can beat me. Broadside's good. My opponent will presumably kill my Soulherder, yeah. And then I'll trade like Recruiter plus Orc token for that. That seems fine. 3, 6, yeah. I still have just infinity damage in play. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I get to do a cool thing. I love doing cool things. So my opponent's at 6. I Charming Prince. Charming Prince blinks Recruiter. And that's enough for my opponent. The cool thing that I was going to do is put Yori into hand so that I tutor up Solitude, have Yorion in hand, and then I have Namesticker Goblin covered. That was a beating. And now I can add Swords to Plowshares and Thoughtseize as well, if I would like, on top of this. I think unless my opponent rolls me in the first 3 or 4 turns, that my card advantage is likely to make me a favorite to win. But Name Sticker Goblin into Moxus or Name Sticker into Battlecry Goblin activate a couple of times is like definitely a thing. Thoughtseize might be too slow on the draw to matter. I'm not sure which of my cards are bad. Probably Reanimate. This gets my count a little low for Grief. Reanimate does some cool things sometimes with Solitude in particular, but I don't know that in this matchup I can just give up 3 to 5 life to do something cool. Let's try Swords, and when I'm on the play, I'll think about Thoughtseize, I think. Turn 1 tap land. Turn 2 Swords to Plowshares your thing. Or Bowmaster your thing. This is fine. It's maybe not my ideal Solitude hand or anything, but I think the hand is fine despite the fact that it doesn't have blue immediately. I also do have the flexibility to source the Plowshares on turn 1 if I need to. Alright. Skirky. Oh, it's Vile Goblins. Sure. That's fine. I think I do this on turn 1, and I'm looking for another land. No to that. So there's probably going to be fewer copies of Muxus in this deck. Oh, opponent just has Vile. Yeah. Oh, this turn could be gross. Grief. Pitch a Bowmasters. What's going on with your hand? Would you like to respond by putting in a Skark Prospector? So opponent has Pyrokinesis, which is the card that I'm going to take so that I can Ephemerate and take something else. And then a more other something else. Yeah, take Pyro. Ephemerate Grief. Grief comes in. Munitions Expert currently does not kill this. I think I'm gonna take like Broadside or Matron instead. I'll take a Matron. Is this an X1? There is. Wasteland's good. I mean, I guess I'll float a white, but we're just gonna move to my turn. And I'll Ephemerate this Grief. We'll do this whole thing again. I will take a Broadside. Oh, right, Summoning Sickness, because I Ephemerated. So my opponent can tick this up if they want. It's a little awkward, because, like, they can't currently cast Munitions Expert. Sure. I am going to just Swords this creature. I don't know what my opponent drew, but I know that I am not letting them do whatever thing that they are trying to do. Just no. Alright, fantastic. Land is very good here. I think I Strix over Bowmasters because hitting future land drops matters so much. But this is something that can trade 1-for-1 with Strix. I think it's fine. Like, lands are so good. Redraws towards something like Solitude also matter. Yeah, like there's a land. That's great. I have to keep in mind that this could keep ticking up towards 6. Alright, opponent is chilling. So what's their card in hand? Probably like a Battlecry Goblin or equivalent is what makes sense to me. Or like a Broadside. I'm going to want to Soulherder Grief this turn. We're just gonna take a peek, see what's over there. Ooh, it's a Gem Palm Incinerator. I'm just still gonna take the Muxus. Like, I can maybe take the Muxus later, but like, shit can happen. I'm very comfortable just getting Muxus fully out of this game. Alright, yeah, we have gotten the GGs from the opponent here. And we end up positive in this league. Well, Caleb, I think I did your deck idea justice, even though what is here looked nothing like what was originally on the screen. But I think this is how you do a Blink deck, right? Like, we had absurd endgame value. We had a couple different angles of attacks for ways to reuse these various creatures. And the ratio of, like, things that you want to blink spells felt so much more reasonable here. We had appropriate interaction for our opponents because we had both Grief and Solitude. This deck gets a huge thumbs up from me. You know, obviously this is the first draft of this deck in its current form. There's tuning to do, and, you know, playing a handful of leagues would probably reveal some of these things. But the numbers feel about right. I would be totally comfortable bringing this to an FNM. And if there's no combo players within 200 miles of you, this might even be sweet for a tournament. And if you need any of these cards, you know where to go. TOAmagic.com. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And I have been recording for about 4.5 hours at this point. I'm tired. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.